Right. Alrighty. So it looks like we are all set to get into this presentation. My name is Lene, and today we will be discussing advancements to telecommunication that I would like to see within my workplace. So just for an introduction, telecommunication is the main source of communicating that we use with our residents here at the Villages at Eden Crossing. And given the fact that we're in this pandemic that started back in January of 2020, telecommunication is used more now than ever. Life as we know it is completely different from prior to this pandemic. So while trying to adapt, to these new changes, telecommunication was one thing that has advanced. But telecommunication that's here used at the Villages at Eden Crossing needs more advancements than what it started off with at the beginning of this pandemic. Current technology that we use at the Villages at Eden Crossing is out of date. Our community directors, James Oldfield and Joshua Lindsay, are both aware of these issues, but once it's brought up to them, they make sure that we're aware that they know of these issues, but there's not much that they can do to fix them for us. There, there's some challenging phone calls that we face, given that we aren't able to read facial expression through the phone. We can't really express our personality or learn the tenant's personality through the phones. And during the conversations, they're pretty choppy and there's a poor connection. So a lot of the times we're not hearing all of what the tenant is saying to us. There's an abundance of calls that we get within the day, but there's not enough time to reach back and talk to every last person that calls into our office. And it's also very challenging to build relationship with the residents since our office is closed and they don't really get to see us face to face. Information and good experiences are missed due to the bad signal and bad phone connection. And that's why we need to have advancements made to the technology that we use as soon as possible. Here at the Live 5812 Investment Group, that is the company that the Villages at Eden Crossing is ran through. We have some core values that we stand on. As you can see right here on the screen, it says that our mission is to rebuild, restore, and reside. When we rebuild, our desire is to breathe new life, new purpose into everything we touch, no matter what it may have been before. After, it will be a place you want to be. To restore, our drive is to restore your faith in the goodness of others. Whether you are a customer, client, resident, or colleague, we want to make sure you know good, honest people and practices still exist. When residing, our hope is to create an environment where you can thrive, a place you want to stay. When you walk in, we want it to be home. Let me go back, I'm sorry. We try to stand on these core values as much as we can, but given the limited face-to-face contact that we do with our residents and our future residents, it is a bit of a struggle to keep up with our core values. We can't really rebuild their trust in a way that we want to when they're never able to understand and get to know us. We can't really restore their trust with us either, because when we're on the phone, how do they know that we're honest and we mean what we say? It's really hard for them to understand where we're coming from with the issues and trying to help them with the issues that they are facing. But one way that we can handle that is by limiting face-to-face communication, which we will be getting into here in a moment. Some solutions for the issues that we face here at the Villages at Eden Crossing. One would be better automated assistance when putting in work orders. A lot of the phone calls that we get throughout the day is somebody either checking on their work order or they're wanting to place one. By setting up a system to where they wouldn't even have to call in about it, I think that would open up more time for us to talk to the residents that actually need our assistance. With limited face-to-face communication due to COVID, I think that we should have, well, I'm sorry, I know that we need to have in place some restrictions that will allow us to communicate with people face to face, and also better quality assurance questions during the calls. But one way that we can start by fixing this is by getting better phones or better phone connections. Work orders, as I had mentioned, are a lot of the calls that we get throughout the day. People are either checking on their work orders or wanting to place one. And I know that this is where a nice automated system would be placed. So by placing work orders, the automated system should gather the residents' information, such as their first and last name, their full address, the request that they're placing, and see if it's acceptable for maintenance to enter if they're not home. By setting up this automated system, this will allow for people to express their issue and make sure that their work order gets placed successfully rather than them leaving voicemails with us at this time. Because sometimes they leave voicemails, but we never receive them. Or when we do receive them, it's about a week or two after they have already placed it. So by setting up this automated system, which is going to be similar to the one that the Ohio BMV currently has in place, this would help make sure that everybody's work order gets placed in a decent manner of time. When people are checking on their work orders, that online system will just show where they are in line for their maintenance assistance. And this would free up more of the phone calls to come in throughout the day so that they don't have to call and ask where they are in the maintenance work order line. As I was explaining about the work order automated system, this is something that the BMV currently has in place here in Ohio. They check in online. There's a 4-hour window. That 4-hour window allows people to arrive at the BMV and check in at the kiosk, showing that they still do need the assistance, and then they claim their spot in line. This is something that we can use here at the Villages at Eden Crossing, because this will show somebody where they are in the line for assistance in that specific category for their work order. Face-to-face restrictions should be limited but allowed here at the Villages at Eden Crossing, only given the fact that people are unable to tour the apartments, and that's not really fair to them given that they're paying so much money to move in somewhere. Even though COVID rates are high, that is the sole reason as to why we cannot host these tours across the company. But visuals do help people, especially when there's a language barrier. So by placing an image similar to the chart that's here below on the PowerPoint, it will show people what the COVID rates are at this time and what percentage of people are testing positive around the time that they're wanting to tour their new home. So by allowing the people coming to the office to see these visuals, this will help them better understand why we're unable to tour those apartments and why we're so limited on our face-to-face contact. Helping visuals. According to Bovee, I believe, from our textbook, they stated well-designed visual elements can enhance the communication power of textual images and in some instances, even replace them. Visuals can often convey some message points such as spiral relationships, correlations, procedures, and emotions more effectively and more efficiently than words. This image shows how when somebody reads something, they're able to understand it, and then they're able to express their understanding regarding the event. So that goes back to the COVID image, and by them seeing those positivity rates, even if that language barrier is around and somebody's not really understanding things when we're explaining it to them, we can guide them by showing them the image of what the visual, I'm sorry, not the visual, but what the rates are at that time. Our community does welcome everybody. So something else that Bovee pointed out was the way you communicate is deeply influenced by the culture in which you are raised. the meaning of words and the significance of gestures, and the importance of time and space, the rules of human relationship. These and many other aspects of communication are defined by culture. Our community is a mixing pot, allowing everybody of all backgrounds to come and enjoy the community among everybody else. So one way that we can, which I have previously explained, one way that we can invite them into the community and make them feel at home and not really separating them out than other people is by making everybody feel at home and understand where they're coming from and eliminating that language barrier. When it comes to the quality assurance, one thing that I mentioned would be the phone calls need to be clear enough so that we can assist everybody. The phones that we currently have are old and get terrible signal, so conversations could only be heard in pieces, which makes it challenging for resident managers to do their job. A solution to this would be get better and newer phones, or at least get a better or clearer signal so that we're able to comprehend and hear conversations in full rather than in pieces, so that we're able to ask those better questions to make sure that everybody is getting the assistance that they need. By asking and reassuring people about the services that they're experiencing, there are some fundamental questions to ensure their experience. One question would be, how would you rate the quality of your customer service experience? Another question would be, was the customer service agent polite and friendly? And another one would be, how likely are you to recommend us to a friend or family members? These are just a few questions that us resident managers, should be able to ask people, but we're unable to do that with the phones not being as clear as they should be. This will also allow us to reassure our current residents and future residents and reassure that their experience will be happy here at the Villages at Eden Crossing. In conclusion, telecommunication at the Villages at Eden Crossing Apartments needs to change. We need better automated message systems, limit face-to-face communication, so that we're also able to ask better quality assurance and questions with the newer phones and better signals. Talking to people over the phone has become the new normal since COVID-19 began back in January of 2020. So we need to adapt so that we're able to help everybody as best as we can. These advancements and ideas must be considered to adapt to these changing times so that our residents feel comfortable enough to give us a call and they don't hesitate, knowing that the issues that we will face are eliminated. Thank you.